Hello, literary adventurers. I'm Luna Lane, and today we're embarking on one of the most extraordinary journeys in all of literature. Jonathan Swift's Gulliver's Travels, published in 1726. Now, you might think you know this story from childhood adaptations, but trust me, Swift's original masterpiece is far more complex, satirical, and downright subversive than any children's version could capture. This isn't just a whimsical tale about a man visiting strange lands. It's a razor-sharp satire that skewers human nature, politics, science, and society with surgical precision. Swift created what appears to be a fantastical adventure story, but underneath lies one of the most biting critiques of 18th century civilization ever written. Our protagonist is Lemuel Gulliver, a ship's doctor whose voyages take him to 4 incredible destinations. Each journey strips away another layer of his, and our, assumptions about human superiority and civilization. And here's what makes this brilliant. Swift uses the technique of defamiliarization. By placing Gulliver in radically different contexts, he forces us to see our own world with fresh, often disturbing clarity. Let's dive into Gulliver's first voyage to Lilliput, the land of people no bigger than your thumb. When Gulliver washes ashore after a shipwreck, he awakens to find himself tied down by hundreds of tiny ropes, surrounded by people 6 inches tall. It sounds delightful, doesn't it? But Swift quickly reveals the darker implications. The Lilliputians are not innocent fairy tale creatures. They're petty, vindictive, and obsessed with meaningless political distinctions. They wage wars over which end of an egg should be cracked first. Sound absurd? Swift is satirizing the religious conflicts tearing apart Europe. The big Endians and little Endians represent Catholics and Protestants, dying over theological differences that seem trivial from a distance. Gulliver becomes embroiled in court politics, where promotions are decided by rope dancing competitions, and colored ribbons determine social status. The Emperor wants to use Gulliver as a weapon against neighboring Blefuscu, but Gulliver's conscience rebels. Here's the genius. Swift shows us that even among people we could literally crush, moral complexity persists. Size doesn't determine worth, and power doesn't justify oppression. But then comes the twist that changes everything. Gulliver's second voyage takes him to Brobdingnag, the land of giants. Now he's the tiny one, carried around like a performing curiosity, displayed at fairs, and constantly threatened by cats, rats, and falling from great heights. The tables have completely turned. The Brobdingnagians aren't cruel, but their very size makes Gulliver's existence precarious and humiliating. When he proudly describes European civilization to the giant king, expecting admiration, the king delivers one of literature's most devastating verdicts. He calls humans the most pernicious race of little odious vermin that nature ever suffered to crawl upon the surface of the earth. Ouch! But here's what's brilliant about this section. Swift forces us to examine European society from an outsider's perspective. Our wars, our politics, our social systems, when described objectively to someone with no investment in them, they sound barbaric and nonsensical. The king's criticism isn't just about Europeans. It's about human nature itself. Gulliver's third voyage takes us to perhaps the most creative destination. Laputa, the Flying Island. This is Swift's savage attack on abstract intellectualism and the Royal Society's obsession with impractical science. The Laputans are so absorbed in mathematics and music that they need servants called flappers to tap them when someone is speaking. Below on the mainland, in the Academy of Legato, Gulliver encounters projectors conducting absurd experiments, trying to extract sunlight from cucumbers, attempting to turn excrement back into food, building houses from the roof down. Swift is mocking the disconnect between theoretical knowledge and practical wisdom. These aren't just silly experiments. They represent the danger of intellectual pride divorced from common sense and human needs. But it's the fourth voyage that delivers Swift's most shocking blow to human pride. Gulliver reaches the land of the Houyhnhnms, intelligent, rational horses who keep savage, human-like creatures called yahoos as beasts. The reversal is complete and disturbing. The noble creatures are horses. The degraded animals are essentially humans. The Houyhnhnms live in perfect reason, without lying, war, or corruption. They have no words for evil because they cannot conceive of it. Meanwhile, the yahoos embody everything Swift sees as worst in human nature: violence, greed, lust, and irrationality. And here's the kicker. Gulliver recognizes himself in the yahoos and becomes so enamored with Houyhnhnm society that he never wants to leave. When the Houyhnhnms finally exile him because he's essentially a superior yahoo, Gulliver returns to England completely alienated from his own species. He can barely stand to be touched by humans, including his own family. He spends hours daily talking to his horses, trying to recapture that perfect rational society. This ending is deeply unsettling, and that's exactly Swift's point. Gulliver's final state isn't admirable. It's a form of madness born from impossible perfectionism and misanthropy. Swift is showing us the dangers of both uncritical acceptance of human society and complete rejection of it. So what is Swift really trying to tell us? The answer lies in the complexity of his satire. He's not simply saying humans are terrible, though he certainly highlights our flaws. He's warning against extremes. The pride that makes us think we're superior to others, whether they're different religions, nationalities, or even species. But also the misanthropy that leads us to reject human society entirely. Swift lived through an era of religious wars, political upheaval, and colonial expansion. He saw how easily humans dehumanize others and how readily we justify cruelty through claims of superiority. Gulliver's Travels is his response to that world, and sadly, it remains painfully relevant today. The book's structure is masterful. Each voyage builds on the previous one, systematically breaking down human pride and pretension. We move from physical size to intellectual pretension to the very nature of humanity itself. By the end, everything we thought we knew about human excellence has been questioned. But here's what makes Swift a great artist, rather than just a misanthrope. He doesn't offer easy answers. The Houyhnhnms, for all their perfection, are also cold and emotionless. Their society works, but would we really want to live there? Swift suggests that the human condition, with all its flaws, might be preferable to perfect rationality without passion or imagination. The book's immediate impact was enormous. It was read as both children's entertainment and political satire. Politicians tried to identify themselves in its pages, and it sparked debates that continue today. What does it mean to be human? How should we view cultural differences? What's the proper relationship between reason and emotion? Gulliver's Travels endures because it asks questions rather than providing comfortable answers. In our current era of political polarization and cultural conflict, Swift's warnings about pride, prejudice, and the dangers of dehumanizing others feel urgently contemporary. The book challenges us to see ourselves as others see us, to question our assumptions about superiority and civilization, and to find a middle path between uncritical patriotism and misanthropic despair. It's a difficult balance, but then again, the best literature has never promised easy comfort. Thank you for joining me on this journey through Swift's remarkable, disturbing, and ultimately profound exploration of human nature. Until next time, keep questioning, keep reading, and remember that sometimes the most important truths come disguised as fantastic adventures.